Today on the podcast, fresh off All In, Joey Janela joins us. Plus, we're going to talk about All In. We're going to talk about The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. We're going to talk about Braun Strowman's heel turn and a whole lot more. This is Notsam Wrestling.
This is Notsam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. Oh my God. And what a week it's been for wrestling. For Notsam Wrestling, for wrestling in general. To be a wrestling fan this week, it's a fun time. I can't believe it's been less than a week. Technically, it's been 1 week since we last spoke, but less than a week since everything that I'm thinking about happening has happened. Look, we've got a lot to talk about. Lots of WWE stuff going down. 3 pay-per-views being simultaneously hyped up. We're hyping up Hell in a Cell, we're hyping up Evolution, and we're hyping up Super Showdown. 3 pay-per-views being hyped up simultaneously on WWE. We'll talk about it. You know what my favorite part of All In this weekend was? Well, there were a lot of great parts. But, you know, I was on on Patreon, you could do there's a Discord. I didn't know anything about Discord before Patreon, but it's like where a combination of a chat room and a message board, and it allows everybody that's a Notsam shill at patreon.com/NotsamWrestling to come together and to join up in this Discord, and then you can chat, but the chat stays open, so it's like a message board. It's really interesting, but I was thinking that it would just be a good place because when there's stuff posted for the Notsam Shills, I can post it in the Discord and people would find out about it. What I didn't realize was that it would become a tool for the community that is being built over there. It felt so good to open it up Saturday night as I was watching All In and see the Notsam Shills at patreon.com/NotsamWrestling all interacting with each other and talking about the pay-per-view as it happened. It was just really, really cool. Not something that I expected, but something that I welcomed. I said something that I didn't even realize I could have or should have expected. It just didn't occur to me until I saw it, and I said, this is what it's all about, setting up that community. Now, I'm not going to, we will talk about All In today on the show. People have asked about it, and I do have some thoughts now several days removed from the show. And there's a conversation to be had about it. If you want my full sort of initial thoughts coming off of the pay-per-view, you'll have to listen to the All In recap show. I did it alongside wrestler and wrestling promoter Pat Buck. We talked about All In and everything that happened at All In minutes after the pay-per-view was over, and that's available only for the Notsam Shills at patreon.com/NotsamWrestling, one of this month's bonus shows, and people have asked, yes, all the old and new captive audience shows will be added to the Patreon page for the Notsam Shills at patreon.com/NotsamWrestling. But there are still thoughts about All In to be made, thoughts to be discussed, thoughts to be had, and I will talk about those when we get into the state of wrestling, as well as everything that went down on WWE this week. But my guest this week, so I'm sitting there, and I'm watching All In, and I'm thinking to myself about what Notsam Wrestling is. Not just this podcast, but the whole idea of Notsam Wrestling, the content brand, if you will. What is Notsam Wrestling? And Notsam Wrestling is a space for me to share my love of wrestling with you, and quite frankly, for you guys to share your love of wrestling with me. But part of that means if I have access to stuff, it's stuff that should be shared. And I'm watching All In, and I'm very happy for a few people who I know. I'm happy for MJF, who wrestled in the opening match, who I have known for a little while through Create a Pro and Wrestle Pro here on the East Coast. But I was very happy for my friend Joey Janela, who I had on the podcast, could have been a year ago, maybe more, maybe a little less, I don't know. But a while back, I had Joey Janela on the show, and this was when he was just starting to pick up steam as the guy who, you know, Zandig who launched Zandig off a roof with himself. I don't know who launched who off a roof. All I know is he and Zandig jumped off a roof into some barbed wire and light posts and everything. Now, I've known Janela for a long time, but that's really where he started to pick up sort of mainstream notoriety, if you will. It was amazing to see him at All In a featured bout. It was Joey Janela in a Chicago street fight against Hangman Page. I mean, it's a member of the elite, somebody who people are like, okay, who's Skrull wrestling? Okay, who's Cody wrestling? Who are the Bucks wrestling? Who's Hangman wrestling? And Janela is the guy. And I didn't realize that was going to happen until it was announced. I certainly didn't realize it was going to be turned into a Chicago street fight until it was announced. But both of those things play directly into the hands of one Joey Janela. And I thought to myself, what would I want to listen to this week on Not Sam Wrestling? What do I want to talk about this week on Not Sam Wrestling? I would love to hear what's going on in the head of one of the people that was involved with All In, specifically somebody who I know. And that man is Joey Janela. So usually here on Not Sam Wrestling, we have done the interview at least days, sometimes more than days, but at least a couple days before the podcast actually airs. This one, I literally completed this interview minutes ago, less than an hour ago. I completed the interview. I got it in just in time for the deadline. So if this podcast isn't up as early as it usually is for you guys on Patreon, that's because I was just finishing it, because I wanted to make sure that we got something that was as timely and topical as possible. And I thought this was the week to get this story. Joey Janela's story post All In. So let's get into it. Let's hear it. Let's hear about the experiences of one Joey Janela. This week on Not Sam Wrestling, it's the bad boy after All In.
The Not Sam Wrestling interview.
Not for the first time on Not Sam Wrestling, but for the first time in the Not Sam Studio.
First time here, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bad boy, All In's Joey Janela is here. What's the haps, man?
Nothing much. Just just a pretty wild weekend.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, just a kind of wild weekend.
Yeah.
Just whatever. 11,000 people.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Same as VFW.
Yeah, it's the same. Once you're in the ring, man, it's hard to even know the difference.
It looked like 35 people to me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. No difference whatsoever. So I mean, I talked about this a little bit, but like, I was obviously so happy for you, and I was tweeting about it, and I let you know and everything that not only because you got to participate in All In over the weekend, but because of the spot that you got to participate in it. Like, pretty unbelievable when you look at the matches that the elite guys had, right? The Bullet Club guys, the guys that the show was kind of centered around. Cody had the NWA Championship match.
Yep.
With the whole story built in. You've got, the Bucks against Rey Mysterio and Phoenix and Bandito and that sort of Mexico and legendary representation. You've got Okada with Skrull. And then who's the guy that ends up with Hangman? But Joey Janela.
It was me.
So first of all, you found out pretty early-ish in terms of when people found out that you were booked for All In, right? I feel like you and Penelope's image popped up pretty quickly when the talent was being announced as to who was booked.
Yeah, I wanted to get spring break too out of the way and stuff, and that was all my my will and brain was going into that event. So I figured after that, I'd give Matt Jackson I'd slip into his DMs and send up a little message, and I said, hey, anywhere I can send my 8x10 and my VHS promo tape to you.
Is that what you said?
Oh, and yeah. He's like, no, man, you're booked. You're good. It was like
really?
That. Yeah. I was like, oh, I just got to talk to the guys. I think you're good. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And that was it.
I guess that was just like good timing, right?
Yeah, it's just like, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get on this show. And then, I've been cool with those guys for a couple years now, but I was like, this there's no way. And then he was like, yeah, you're good. You could be on the show.
That's such a good lesson about, like, if you want to do something, just saying something, right? Like, just say, like, hey, I want to do that show. Because, right, there are some guys that I would imagine, because it's the same in a lot of professions, that would sit there and go, like, well, of course they're going to know that I want to do All In, but they should ask me, man. They should be calling me. Don't contact the booker. Wait for the booker. But in all honesty, if it's a show that you want to be at,
I just sent them a jokingly message,
right?
And I was booked within 2 hours. It was pretty wild, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they hit me up. They said, "All right, you're good to go."
Now, what do you think that is? Because the last time, I feel like you're in a different world from the last time you did the podcast. Because, I mean, I remember the last time we talked on here, you were talking about PWG being, like, kind of a goal. Like, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'd really like to do PWG.
It was that long ago?
It was a long time ago, yeah.
Jeez.
Like, you weren't close to doing PWG yet. And then pretty quickly after it, I say not close in the sense that in your head you didn't know it was coming up. Then you end up at PWG, you're doing your own shows, and that the buzz for you kind of built pretty quickly. What do you think it was that they were like, yeah, of course you can do the show?
I think it was just a combination of a lot of stuff. I know the Bucks were big fans on the way I promoted that first spring break and the second spring break. And also I wrestled Cody at WrestlePro last year, and we had a pretty good match.
Right, I remember that.
And he became a fan of me, professionally and in the ring there, and knew I had something going for me. So it was just I guess a combination of those things, and doing PWG every 2 months and killing it there, and just putting in hard work. These guys, they're like me. They're always on Twitter, so they always see me tweeting. They always see me. I'm always going somewhere. I'm always putting in a lot of work, and I'm not a millionaire. And this is the first time in my life I've actually had money to save, and still had money to take myself out to eat every night and eat lobster. So.
Yeah, is that a foreign concept to you to finally be in a space where you're like, wait, this isn't hand to mouth at the moment. Like, there's more money here than I need to get to live. What do I do with this extra stuff? Like,
I just throw it in the drawer. I don't even have a bank account. I really don't. I throw it in the top drawer of my room and just. Do
you take it as needed, or do you consider it a savings account? Like, don't touch the money in the drawer. That's saved money.
No, I definitely dip my fingers in the cookie jar. If I'm going to if it's like a Sunday and I'm going down the shore, I definitely take a couple $100 out of there.
Right.
Be spending a lot of money on some liquor.
But after a gig, you'll just come home and you'll be like, you'll put the gig money in the drawer. The merch money goes in the drawer.
Yeah, after a gig now, it's like my fanny pack is just stuffed with like crumpled up money, like as unorganized. So most of the time I don't even know how much money I make on the weekend because I don't count it. You just throw it in the drawer before you count it? I just throw it in my fanny pack, and then I take a handful of crumpled up money and throw it in the drawer, and then, that looks like $200. We're good. And
then after like 6 months you're like, I need to see how well I'm doing. Like, is this even a good career? And you just open the drawer and you're like, all right, things are going well.
Yeah, not that bad.
Right.
I would probably have more money if I didn't didn't go out to eat every day. So.
Or if you were aware of it. Like, you'd probably have more money if you were not just crumpling it up, throwing it in a fanny pack, and then dumping it in a drawer.
Yeah, I have massive ADD, so I'm probably I have some of the worst organizational skills like you can possibly have as a human being.
Right. That's not your strong suit.
Yeah, so they took like a class of people, and they're testing them to see how bad their ADD was. I'd probably be top 2.
You think so? Maybe, is that bad?
Probably number 1, yeah. Pretty bad.
Do you medicate it at all, or?
No. In elementary and high school, I took Ritalin, but
not anymore.
No, after that, it wasn't needed anymore.
No. Well, plus, you're like, if I'd just be a wrestler.
That's it.
Be a wrestler. I can do this.
One day you'll have a drawer full of crumpled up 20s and be good to go.
Yeah, I don't see. At some point, assuming the career continues to go well, at some point you're going to need a money guy. right?
Yeah.
Or do you even like? You probably think in advance about your career, right? Like where you want to be, but in terms of your life, do you think about your future?
No. Right now I live at home with my mom still.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, she's like, she's like, I just watched you on pay-per-view this past weekend. Where the fuck is the money? Yeah. I said, I got some money in the drawer crumpled up.
Yeah, you need.
And she's like, when are you going to start paying me to live here? No, she's cool. I still live there.
I mean, dude.
29, living the dream. I still live at home. And
You should. I mean, they say, like, that's the thing about the wrestler schedule is that you can, when you're successful, you can live wherever you want. This is like WWE guys that'll live in Florida or Texas or Nevada or any of those states where they can save money on taxes. You're doing that, but like 10 times as good because you're living rent free.
Yeah, I live in the same room that I did growing up with the same Steve Austin posters on the wall that were on my wall in 1998, and that's honest.
So have you had that in the last year? Have you had that sort of like, or even maybe this week, right? Because obviously All In was like a big difference maker. Like, do you have that sort of like, hey man, maybe I should start living more like a star? I got people coming up to me, wanting to buy my shirt, wanting to get a picture, or it's just not, that's not you?
No, that's not me. There was a lot of guys at the convention. They had to have Atlas security, guide them around the convention because everyone was getting just completely fucking ambushed. Mm-hmm. Me, I was just walking around, having a beer. Fans were giving me alcohol.
So that's cool.
Fans were just walking up to me, giving me $20 bills. I was just crumpling them up, throwing in my fanny pack.
They would just give you money?
They would just give us money, like, oh, thanks for doing what you do. It was real strange.
But you accepted.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want security to walk me around all the time. Free alcohol, free money, T-shirts. People give me random fanny packs and a bunch of random. You're like, wrestling fans are crazy.
Yeah, you're like, I'll wear this. I'll take this. Yeah, whatever.
Absolutely. Free everything.
But if you see Janela in the street and you want to give him a fanny pack, crumple up a couple 20s, put them in there. They're good to go already.
Throw it in there. I'll probably be walking around Manhattan after this, a couple slices of pizza, bar hopping. So if you see me in the streets, you just throw a crumpled 20 my way.
Yeah. You'll take it every time.
That's it.
That's amazing. That's real. Like that's real. Like people want to believe that that's how Joey Janela is living. You know what I mean?
It's the bad boy way.
Right.
That's it.
Right. You live at your mom's house, crumple up your 20s, put them in a drawer, move on to the next town, whatever you need to do.
Most of the time, mostly every other day, my girlfriend wants to murder me because that's...
She's like, we don't have to do this. You don't have to do this anymore. And you're like, yeah, I never did this because I had to.
She's kind of like a manager to me now because she like kind of organizes everything for me. Mm-hmm. Also, when I'm selling merch, like my T-shirts are just a pile of mess. Like I just throw them unorganized in a pile behind my merch table, and someone comes up, can I get a large? And then I'm digging through the pile for about 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, man, I'm gonna find one. So good thing she's there because now she'll fold the T-shirts and organize them for me. And
so it's not just like you just have to, if you buy a Janela shirt, it's just whatever size I find, that's the one you get.
Yeah, it's like roulette. But she also, she'll organize my money. If I'm in the shower, she'll go in the fanny pack and take out my money and organize it, put it in my wallet.
Figure out how much is there, that's good.
Yeah, thank God for her because I'd be fucked.
Yeah, it's kind of rare. I think a lot of guys in your position, it's difficult to find a woman that'll kind of take care of you.
Yep.
But that's what you need.
I buy her enough fucking food, so.
Right. Here's why it's really dangerous, right? Because like 5 years ago, let's say you're 29, right? But you're where you were 5 years ago in your career. It's like, what the hell are you doing with your life? But now, because you're successful, but you're choosing, you can't, like, it's never going to change.
No.
Because if you've gotten successful with that lifestyle, what will possibly motivate you to change?
Probably nothing.
Nothing.
That's it.
It's like if somebody's in your life and they don't want to take care of you, forget about it.
That's it.
Right?
Thank God for her. She takes care of me.
Right. And
I'm doing the same thing I did 5-10 years ago, but back then I was delivering pizzas, crumpling up the single sword. Now I'm crumpling up 20s from T-shirts. So,
well, that's it.
Same shit, different day, just different surroundings.
And a year from now, we'll check back in with you, and hopefully you'll be at 50s. You know what I mean? That's how you know.
50s, maybe hundreds.
Yeah. And one day it'll be WWE royalty checks that you're just crumpling up and throwing into a fanny pack.
Seriously, I have a few checks from some promoters that are like in a shoebox underneath my bed. I haven't even cashed them yet.
Then they're just sitting there?
Like, yeah, the wrestling, there's a wrestling toy company, you know.
Oh, yeah, figures, yeah. You have a Joey Janela action figure coming.
Yeah, they sent me money in a check, and I haven't cashed it yet. It's just sitting in a shoebox underneath my bed.
When did they send it to you?
Like, seriously, like almost 2 months ago.
Yeah, and if you don't have a bank account, what do you just go to a check cashing place?
Just go to check cashing place, and I think I'm going to throw some money down on the car next week, so I'll cash it then and just give them a bunch of crumpled up fucking bills.
Pull the drawer out of the thing
throw
and just
everything, throw everything in the shoebox and just give it to them.
Just hand them the shoebox. Like, take as much, I don't know, whatever this thing is, whatever this costs, just take it from this box and give me what's left.
Obviously, it's the same way Biggie Smalls paid for his first
That's right.
car.
That's right. That's the way to think about it.
Right?
Yeah. Look, when you're successful, when you're making money, you can kind of make anything seem cool.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
All you got to do is figure out anybody out there that's got these lifestyles that people think are unattractive, just make money. And then it becomes the cool thing to do.
That's it. I haven't made that much money yet compared to some of these guys, but it's pretty wild right now.
Bro, you got money in the drawer. It's not just in your pocket.
That's it. It's like money in the bank, money in the drawer match.
Right.
That's going to change it. If I get signed one day and I win that match, I'm going to change the suitcase to a drawer.
Yeah. You should have shirts that just say Janela's drawer, feed Janela's drawer. Instead of feed me more, feed my drawer.
Just like money overflowing out of it. Me on my knees, just raining on me.
So you find out, it takes 2 hours, a DM and a couple hours to get booked on All In. When do you find out what you're going to be doing at All In?
Man, it was maybe a month ago whenever they announced the me and Paige match, because they were throwing different matches at me for months. And I thought I was doing one thing for like 3 months. And all of a sudden they hit me up and they're like, this is what we're doing.
And were you happy with what, ultimately, do you feel like the match that happened is the match that is the best possible thing? I can't imagine how it could have been better.
Yeah, I think that was the best possible route they could have gone with me. And Adam Page, he's making a name for himself just like me.
Yeah.
And he is a part of the elite. He is a part of the Bullet Club. So that's one of their boys. Mm-hmm. And I just appreciate them, thinking about me and putting me in there with him. And we tore the house down.
You absolutely did. When do you know, when you have a match like that, like when do you know, yeah, we did it? Do you know right away, or is it when feedback starts coming in that you're like, great, it felt good, but this feedback is like, okay, yep, what I felt was what happened? Or do you just know? I
think like usually with me, it's after the first spot or so, or a couple, if you have the crowd and you could just do whatever and you have them the whole time. That's what I felt like after we hit a few dives and the crowd was up. I said, okay.
Were there any
the races?
Were there any nerves going in because you were later on the card?
No, originally I thought they said on one of the episodes of Being in the Elite, they said I was curtain jerking, so I thought it was going to be the opener of the show. I don't know if that changed or whatnot at some point, because they changed it to a street fight about a week before the show.
So when we found out it was a street fight is pretty much when you found out it was a street fight?
Yeah, they hit me up. They said, hey, we got this. They sent me a picture. We got this Cracker Barrel. We're going to change it to a Cracker Barrel Chicago street fight. So is it just for an excuse just to use the
barrel?
The Cracker Barrel?
Yeah. Do you think that that's what it was? They were like, well, we got this barrel. Like, we can't just leave it at ringside. What's going to be the street fight?
Yeah. I think that was probably the case, that they had this cool Cracker Barrel.
Because I feel like them making it a street fight all of a sudden puts the match completely in your wheelhouse. Like, that's kind of in the build-up to this. Really, what started you making a name for yourself was the crazy stuff you were doing. right?
Yeah.
And so this is what gives you the potential to be the Joey Janela that's popped up on all the blogs and ends up going viral and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's it's definitely the match is definitely in my realm at that point.
So you were psyched when you found out it's...
Yeah, I'm psyched, but now I'm more. I like to wrestle now more, because even though I get booked all over the place every weekend, there's still people that always say, "Oh, Joey Janela is a guy who can only wrestle when there's chairs in the ring, when there's tables in the ring." Like, there's fans like that all over, and the street fights, the no disqualifications, any stipulation match, that's what I grew up loving. That stuff, the craziness of the 90s and the early 2000s, the ECWs, the CCWs, the hardcore title, all that wild shit. That's what I enjoyed, and that's what I like doing. But there is times where I like to just have an awesome wrestling match with no gimmicks, none of that. But
Even just to prove to people that you can, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing at Evolve. I came in there, they put the belt on me in the first night, and it's just like just proving to those fans that I can actually go with the best of them. A lot of people around here in New Jersey, New York, they know the deal already. A lot of other people around the world, around United States, they only know me as the guy who fell off a roof from Danzig, as they call him. But it's just, but at All In, this was the perfect way to showcase Joey Janela to the world, was this stipulation, and it could have gone better.
Yeah, I thought it was a good mix too. Like, you didn't have to do anything like super. Like, it was like, wait, what's it gonna do? Is it gonna be crazy? It was just a good match. It was good storytelling. And then there were a couple of spots. Like, there was one moment when you took the running power bomb off the ramp and through the table. There was this moment where you turned around and looked, and it felt real, but it also felt like something the character in that position would be doing, right? Like, it was. He was running with you, and right before you took the bump, you looked behind you, and in one way it was like, oh, you're probably sizing up like how you're gonna fall, but on your face and on your eyes, it was just like a guy going, holy shit, I'm about to get powerbombed off this ramp. So it worked, you know what I mean? It was one of those little things that it's like, it actually, for me, I think, made me buy into it more.
Yeah, that was scary as fuck. That was all my idea too, but at that point, the ref was telling us we're already going over, so it was like, you have to. It was like, shit, we have to set this up, and we have to make sure it's good to go, because with that spot there was such little room to set up those tables. Right. We had to get those up, and unfortunately, I put them too far, because I probably foot of my body. Probably just my head and maybe the top of my shoulders hit that table.
The second one.
Yeah, there's only one table. There was two tables, but I barely hit one.
Right. One you went through cleanly, and then the one next to it, I felt like you just knocked your head on it as you went down.
I think that made the spot all that much better, because it's just like, how is he living right now? Right. I already took a burning hammer on a ladder and a Cracker Barrel.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And it's like, shit, what will happen next?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's got to be the end right there. And then, you got a big, big ending. How do you top a powerbomb off the stage? And we had to figure that out. It's just
taking that finish off the ladder at the end of the match, is that terrifying, or do you know how to kind of position yourself?
No,
because again, that's one of those moves that like you wouldn't see in WWE, because you could get paralyzed and break your neck. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Even though I also knew those tables were breaking in ridiculous ways all night. So
how so?
They were just, I'm so used to being on the shitty indie shows and getting shitty indie tables that don't break. And now I'm on a show that has a massive budget, and they can actually afford tables and not doors. So
right. They're actually getting like wrestling tables, not just a big piece of plywood.
Yeah, I tell you, in the last couple of years, most of the table spots I do, the tables don't break. So to get actual tables that broke pretty spectacular and pretty easy was God's gift, but I'm not used to that. So
It's a luxury.
Yeah. But after that, I dropped that elbow through that table, the first table that shattered, and I was like, "Oh, these tables are scary."
Oh, really? So the fact that they were breaking were like, these are way worse. These are way more scary.
They weren't breaking clean in half. They were like shattering, and like
Oh, I see. So
parts were coming up. Like one cut me. I did the elbow. One shot right into my leg.
Oh.
It was just.
So you're sitting there, you're not so much worried about breaking your neck. It is, I'm about to fall through these tables and I could get stabbed in the eyes.
One could stab me in the throat.
Right.
That was it.
And you just go, here we go.
That's it. No, I was me trusting that guy with my body.
Right.
And he was awesome.
So did you end up going over?
No.
Good.
No.
Good.
That's it.
Good. Good.
It's over.
When you first of all, who was like, I mean, and you can say as much as you want to say, but who when you were there in charge of like booking and figuring out who's going to do what and what matches, like who were the people doing that for that show?
It was really we were pretty creatively free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a few agents back there.
Mm-hmm.
BJ Whitmer, an agent for Ring of Honor. I just laid out the match, me and Adam, and we just told him what we were doing, and that was it.
I guess that's the point of the show, right?
Yeah, it was just to have as much freedom and fun as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Being professional and having a great show. And I know Joey Matthews was supposed to be an agent. I don't know what happened to him. There's some reports, but there was like quite a few people. I'm sure Dreamer and Bubba Ray Dudley helped with a lot of stuff too.
But for you guys, it was BJ.
Yeah. It was just like we just went over our stuff, and that was it. Like we just told him, and that was it.
And did you talk to Cody in the Bucks coming off of your match?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the feedback like?
It was great.
What was the feeling like before the show? Like, was it just excitement? Was it nervous? Was it, I don't know what we're about to do? Not just for you, but just in general. Like, what was the vibe like in the building?
Everyone knew it was going to be big. As soon as you got in the building, the stage was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. An empty arena like that. Like, I've never been in a building, that big, that in a professional environment without not having to pay a ticket
right
be there. But yeah, you just knew it was going to be big. Just even the convention the day before,
right,
and just the buzz around, it was like nothing I've ever experienced. And I've been around the WrestleMania weekend environment the last few years, and this was on a whole different level, because I think people knew that no matter what happened that weekend, that it was history, and it hasn't been done in a very long time.
Right.
And they knew where they were getting a show. There was no way that show wasn't going to deliver.
Right.
With the people on it, there was absolutely no way that show wasn't going to deliver in some capacity.
So it's pretty much major optimism going in.
Yeah. It was awesome. And everyone was so nice too.
Really?
And not stressed out.
Yeah.
I do these shows, I wrestle 2, 3, 4 times a week now, and some of these smaller shows, these guys, they stress out before these shows, sweating, yelling. It's like this show has 12,000 people there, and no one was sweating, no one was going crazy. It was very calm, relaxed. Like, you thought people would be a lot more like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, especially for guys that, still a lot more conversation to be had with Joey Janela. But I wanted to take a second to talk to you guys about the fact that so many of you come up to me and you ask me for advice, whether it's about broadcasting or families, women, men, clothing, shoes. I can answer all those questions, but some of you have been coming up to me and asking me, what team should you bet on this week? I don't know what team you should bet on this week. Football's coming back. All these decisions to be made. I can't answer these questions for you. I don't know who's going to win. Some of you think that you know who's going to win. So if you have this information, here's my advice to you. go check out MyBookie. First of all, MyBookie is an amazing partner to Not Sam Wrestling. So if you're going to use any kind of service like MyBookie, don't use a service like MyBookie. Use the service MyBookie. This is what I tell people to do this all the time. Bet with MyBookie. I don't know who's going to win, but I know the best place to go if you do, and that's MyBookie. Trust me, guys. They're going to be your best bet this season. They've been in business for years. Great reviews online. Their mobile site's easy to use, not to mention they have in-game live betting and the most rewarding player perks in the business. Plus, if you're a fantasy guy, you can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a player is going to score each game. You win, they pay. It's amazing. Join now, and MyBookie is going to match your deposit dollar for dollar. Dollar for dollar, MyBookie is going to match your deposit if you join now. And if you use the promo code Sam Roberts, SAMROBERTS, when creating your account, you can claim up to $1,000 in free play. A G for free. $1,000 free play if you use the promo code Sam Roberts when creating your account. That's MyBookie. MyBookie. And don't forget to use the promo code Sam Roberts when creating your account to claim the bonus up to $1,000 in free play. MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid. Now back to Joey Janela. I mean, I think everybody's lucky because even though it's Cody and the Bucks and these guys, it's the first time doing pay-per-view, right? They're surrounded by Ring of Honor people who have done pay-per-view before. Cody comes from WWE. Bucks have worked, Wrestle Kingdom year after year after year after year. So it's like maybe they've never actually promoted a giant show like this themselves, but they're familiar with the environment, right?
Yeah, Cody had a lot of help too with a lot of his father's friends from the past.
Yeah.
Coming in and helping him and throughout the whole way. So, it was awesome. After his match, he jumped right on gorilla position, throwing a headset.
That's awesome.
So it was definitely legendary. It was definitely wild to be part of that.
And was it like just celebrations after the show? Was it relief? Was it exhaustion? Like what was it after the show? Because for me, I mean, as a fan watching the show, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I hope this is good. You know what I mean? Because I just started to get these feelings of, it just occurred to me that it's possible that this wouldn't be good, and that would be really bad. And then once the show started, and as the show went on, I was like, this show is really, really good. This is like working. And by the end, aside from nitpicky whatever, I was like, this couldn't have gone better. This was amazing. What was the vibe like from everybody after the show was over?
Well, it was real hectic at the end of that show because pay-per-view time.
Yeah, because of the timing.
Yeah, but I think that just adds to the historicness of this show. Everyone always talks about the way Barely Legal ended. Mm-hmm. How it went off and the generator blew and whatnot. Yeah,
the building completely lost power like a minute after they were off the air.
Yeah, and they were dwindling down the time of that pay-per-view. And I feel like just even though the end didn't go the way it was supposed to, because pay-per-view money is expensive.
Right.
I feel like it just adds to what this show was and how historic it was. And it's just a few guys that never ran a large-scale pay-per-view, basically pulling off one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time. So.
And the fact that bell rang, right? Literally at the last possible minute, that bell rang. We got the ending to the last match, and it's like, we did it. 30 more seconds, and it would have been like, what the hell happened? But we got it in.
Yeah, if I was that guy doing the sign-off, I think it was Ian Riccaboni, I probably would have pissed myself. Like, all right, it's going off. You got a couple seconds to do this.
Like,
I probably would have been pissing myself. But, yeah, those guys, to pull off that match, that main event they did, with whatever was going on, it was just, it was a really amazing match.
Yeah, I guess you forget that not only the Bucks specifically, not only are they in there worrying about their match, but this is their show. So it's not like a promoter is sitting there telling them, hey, come on, guys, let's wrap it up. It's like, no. They're the ones that would be telling them they got to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think it's just something that's going to be talked about.
For a long time.
For a long time. You're going to see 20, 30 years from now, WWE specials come out where who knows where those guys' careers are going. Wherever everyone on that show is going different paths. I think everyone that was featured on that pay-per-view will be very successful.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I feel like 20, 30 years from now, there's going to be people talking about the way that pay-per-view went off and the way it ended, and just it was definitely crazy to be a part of something like that.
What's it like the morning after? Like to wake up and be like, it's over. It's over, but we did it.
Yeah, it was wild. I just it kind of at this point it feels like, you know, me like every weekend it's just like shit. Good job, you know. You did a good job last night, or it's either fuck, I'm bummed out because my match went to shits this weekend, but
it's always on to the next one.
Yeah, it's always on to the next one. It's a job now. It's not like a hobby for me anymore. It's not like I'm doing a couple shows a month. It's a job, you know. You have good days and you have shit days. And, you know, we were all, you know, there was a little after party after we went. You know, the fans were awesome, you know, and got some sleep and hit the convention the next day. And that was the Starcast Convention itself was the most absolutely insane convention I've ever seen in my life. I know High Spots, they run the WrestleCon convention, and they used to do Wrestling Reunion, and they said that's the most money they've ever made in one weekend.
Wow.
In the history of that company.
I mean, it had to be crazy because you were just getting money handed to you.
Yeah. I know Pro Wrestling Tees made $600,000 that
That's
weekend.
what I read. That's insane.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, even if like it was just the 10,000 people that were in that building, that means they each have to pay $60,000.
Yeah, a lot of money was.
I mean, that's no, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of money was going back into the wrestling community's pockets this weekend.
Yeah,
and it wasn't from. It wasn't from a big deal. I know WWE's had a lot of deals lately. Saudi Arabia, Fox. This money came from the fans, from their pockets, and it went back into the wrestling business that weekend, which was crazy to think about because it doesn't really happen like that anymore.
That's a good
on
point.
A major scale, like the money, it went back. You know, it was wrestling fans spending their money. You know,
yeah, on wrestling, like recirculate. It's like it's a wrestling economy.
That's it. It was like a wrestling economy.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that last night.
That's a great point.
I was like, it was pretty wild because, you know, it was just money circling in that Chicago metro area, wherever.
Yeah.
That suburban Chicago, whatever the fuck it was, where it was somewhere outside of Chicago, that there was a lot of money going around that. Illinois, somewhere in Illinois. Or I would say I fucked up at the press conference, says Illinois. And
you did say that?
Booed the fuck out of me. Yeah, there was a headline on Cage Side, whatever that site, Cage Side Seats.
Yeah.
And it was like, Joey Janela, what is it? Joey Janela crashes all-in press conference and mispronounces Illinois. That was the headline. And then a bunch of other wrestling sites picked it up too. So it was just like, if I was vanity searching on Twitter, it was just me being a fucking idiot. But yeah, it was just... But
you know what? It's probably the best bad guy thing you could do. If you're going to crash the conference and talk about how great you are and everybody else sucks, you should say Illinois.
That's it.
Like, that's heat.
That's it. I mispronounce everything anyway.
Right.
But
that's the bad boy lifestyle.
That's it. So the High Spots broke a record. Pro Wrestling Tees broke a record.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Bucks and Cody broke. I don't know when the last time 11,000 people showed up to an indie show was.
Yeah, they broke some records. I think almost every wrestler, you know, they've probably made more money that weekend than they've made in a long time. Especially on my level. You know, just with that convention, it was just nonstop. It was insanity. I was like, what the fuck? When did I become this popular? You know? I vanity search every day on Twitter. I'm corny mark like that. But yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ. I don't know if it was just because there's a lot of people that didn't know who I was and I was on the card. I didn't know what the ingredients were to having a response like that at a wrestling convention. but I felt pretty successful and didn't feel like Virgil that day.
Yeah, no.
No.
I bet even Virgil could make some money at that convention.
Oh, absolutely. With
Yeah.
the WWE Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, encyclopedia.
The WWE Wikipedia.
Yeah, with that out. Now, with the encyclopedia out, everyone makes money because everyone wants those things signed.
Right.
I was with Virgil in Wales, and we did a convention, the Wales Comic-Con. And Virgil's line was nonstop. They put him right next to Sting, and they're like, "Oh shit, Virgil's here in his NWO shirt. Just go over to sign his."
I got to be honest.
encyclopedia."
Part of me feels like if I hadn't made that Lonely Virgil website, I feel like making that Lonely Virgil website definitely increased
That's
his
it.
line.
Yeah, I think so. I think you might be, you and the Megans. You guys.
Yeah. Mattel told me. The guys, Mattel made the Virgil
Yeah.
figure that comes with the convention
Oh,
sign.
of course, I have it.
Bill from Mattel specifically said, "Yeah, I didn't know that was your site." Of course, yeah, your site's the only reason we packaged him like that. Yeah.
The thing is, I knew even before you did that, my friend's dad was a toy collector. He collected like G.I. Joe size, Barbie doll size action figures. So he'd always go to the conventions, and always there was people there like Lou Ferrigno and William Shatner and the super mega shows and the chiller theaters.
Yeah.
So when I was like 13, 14, we'd go to those shows. And previously, like a few years earlier, I seen Virgil at a local wrestling match. He wrestled Van Hammer and Big Dick Dudley for the...
Triple threat?
Yeah, and
Nice.
for a hardcore title.
What a match.
Yeah, I wish it was on video.
One for the ages.
Yeah, it's historic. I wish it was on video. But for some reason, I was just I think I was 12 years old. Walked up to Virgil and Owen, just chilling ringside, and just like talking to him, and he's like, "Hey kid, get me a soda." I got him a soda. Hey kid, get me.
That's on you, right?
Yeah. Just like, all right. So it was like, oh, that was kind of weird. So then like,
Having you buy him sodas.
yeah, kid, get me a Diet Coke.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Vincent is asking me to get him a Diet Coke.
Gotta do it, right?
That's it. I had a couple crumpled up singles back then.
Gotta do it.
That's it.
Gotta open up the fanny pack, get those singles out.
That's it.
You're delivering pizzas.
Yes. Not yet. I think it's just money from my uncle or my mom or something.
Right, crumple them up, put them in the tiny little fanny pack.
That's it.
We're good.
I was buying like Japanese, like FMW VHS at that time. But anyways, 2 years later,
This is a Best of Explosion Death Matches tape signed by Onita.
I probably have that.
Yeah.
As well. But a couple years later, we went to a Super Mega show, and as soon as we walk in the door, I'm with my two friends and his father, and we hear some guy go, "Hey, Joey." And my friend's dad, like, that strange man over there is calling you over. I look at it's fucking Virgil. I go, what? How does this guy remember me?
Yeah.
And then I walked over, and then he tried to sell me his 8x10s. And we were so confused. This is a story my friend's dad brings up, because he's gone to many of these conventions. So Virgil is quite the
Fixture?
what do they call that? Folk hero.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course.
Of our teens.
Yes.
Was Virgil at these deals, and he still brings it up to this day. Remember the time we walked in and Virgil knew who you were? So then we like, no, we're not going to buy shit from you, Virgil. At that time, we were a little bit older. We realized that Virgil was kind of just a jabroni. So we wanted to go buy some new, like, Ruthless Aggression, Brock Lesnar, Rob Van Dam
Of
action
course,
figures.
yeah.
So we were going to that table. We were going trying to find those. We didn't want to fucking hang out with Virgil. So at one point, we lose our friend, Tom Doyle, who passed away a couple years ago, but he was a good friend of my childhood, one of my best friends, and we lose him at one point. We're like, where's Doyle? This is before we all had cell phones. We were kids. Where the fuck is he? Where is he? So we're leaving the convention, like, we're looking for him. He's just sitting at Virgil's table. He was Virgil's bitch that day. Got him
Diet Cokes.
Diet Cokes, cheese fries,
Yeah.
whatever Virgil wanted. So just my life has gone full circle, and now
It's amazing.
I'm still hanging out with Virgil and buying him Diet Cokes.
Of course you are, but now it's like, I don't know. It's got to feel different now. It's got to feel like
I should make that motherfucker buy me a Diet Coke.
it's about time.
That's it, yeah.
It's about time. So have you felt, I know it's only been a few days, have you felt a difference since doing All In? I feel like certainly brought a lot of awareness to you. You know what I mean? I think certainly the most eyes you've ever been in front of. And to me, I think that pretty much on a global level, really, because as a show, like it's not WrestleMania, but it was certainly in wrestling fan communities talked about everywhere. I mean, it was the biggest thing in wrestling over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I think my girlfriend Penelope Ford, she definitely reaped the benefits from this.
Oh my God! Well, she had like one of the spots of the night.
Yeah, and she was one of the only people that was trending alone on Twitter, and we didn't realize that till a couple hours after, until we looked it up, and she was trending. Like, it was like she was trending worldwide.
That's amazing.
She got like 15,000 followers in the last couple days. And we realized how crazy it was because the next day we were like, we were on Instagram. She got tagged in a photo, and it was like some model from like South Korea, like wearing the top she wore, saying, Penelope Ford inspired me. It was like her and like next to a sunset with like a professional picture.
Wow.
We were like, wow, this is pretty strange. And she's with me in Evolve Beyond Wrestling and stuff, but she's really never had that breakout like I have yet, because it's hard. Wrestling promoters are fucking cheap fucks, and they don't want to spend more money on another plane ticket.
Gotcha. So they don't want to. They're like, no, if the whole act is going to cost 2 plane tickets.
Yeah, it's just they're cheap. You know, they're like, no, we can have her wrestle, but just to have her come out there, they just think she's just eye candy and just comes out with me, but they never realize how beneficial she is to my entire act.
But now people are going to want to see it.
Yeah, they're gonna. I think there's a chance she's gonna get a contract before me. But it's all good because she certainly deserves it. The way she looks. And she's an athlete. She was never a wrestling fan. You can ask her about what she thought of Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man at WrestleMania, and she would have no clue what the fuck you were talking about, besides knowing who those two guys were. But
she was an athlete.
She was an athlete and got suckered into the business by professional con artist DJ Hyde, and he was just a complete, like just a pervy guy and fucking complete pervert, as I say, and saw a hot blonde athlete and said, "Oh, you should sign up to my wrestling school." Even though she was just with a friend her friend was trying out for the CZW school. He was like, "Oh, you should wrestle. You would be good." She got suckered in that way. Now the rest is history.
That's where you met her, though, right?
Yeah, I met her.
So?
Through CCW.
All's well that ends well.
That's it. Maybe I should buy DJ Hyde a fucking rack of ribs.
I think so. But speaking of CCW, I mean, I was at this show where you killed wrestling, where it was Lio Rush's last match. And you guys together killed the business, I was reading.
Well, I killed the business. Lio Rush just took the blame for it. He just took a bullet for me.
What was that? It was a powerbomb off a ladder, no cell, right?
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be a package pile driver off the second rope through a table. Mm-hmm. But, of course, shitty independent wrestling get their tables from Craigslist or some shit. So we went to drag the table over to the corner and the leg snapped.
Oh.
So I set up a ladder. I said, "Leo, you're going off the ladder through the table." He goes, "No, I'm not, motherfucker." He's punching me. We're arguing on the ladder. I said, "You're going. You're going. You're going." He's like, "No." He's like, "Hold on. If you watch the video, he doesn't want to go at all." I just powerbomb right on his head off the ladder, and he still no-sells it. like it was supposed to be a pile driver off the second, and he no-sells that. But I was like, "You're doing it. You're doing it." So 100% my fault. He took 100% all the blame for it. But kudos to him. He didn't throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
And look at him. He's
doing great.
He's doing great. All the heat is behind him. He's killing it right now. And maybe one day he'll no-sell another table bump on the grandest stage of them all. You never know.
That's true.
I see on YouTube every time, like I look him up, like I'm watching his videos, his promos on YouTube, because I don't really watch it too. I watch wrestling through social media, through GIFs and video clips and whatnot now, because I'm addicted to my cell phone. If there was a True Life episode, a new one, I'm addicted to my cell phone. I'm sure they would be first ballot for that shit.
You're like, I can't watch TV because I got my phone. I got to watch it.
That's it. I'm just always on Twitter. But I look at his promos on YouTube, and like the first comment's got like 500 likes. Why don't you go no sell a power off a ladder again, you fucktard or something. It's just like, and he still takes the blame for it.
Oh, he's a good man for taking it.
That's it. It was all my idea. So ha 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 ha, Leo, gotcha.
Although, now, based on what you're saying, there's this, what are you going to do when, like, you're going through your WWE gifts, your NXT, your 205 Live stuff, and it's like, oh, there's Leo. Oh, Penelope Ford, now in NXT, and you're like, well.
That's it. That's how I post that picture of Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen sitting on the moon by himself, all lonely. I post it every couple of years. A couple of years I posted, I said, this is going to be me in a few years. And little did I know that it would be the actual truth, that everyone around me would get signed.
Yeah.
And so I posted it again. I photoshopped my face on Dr. Manhattan. I said, and what's Riddle got signed?
Oh,
said,
yeah.
This is wrestling now. It's just me.
It's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So if WWE, if you want to take my girlfriend, you're gonna have to take me too, because there's no way I can live on planet Earth without her organizing my T-shirts and my money, because she's like my handler. So she's like basically I should give her money weekly, because she's basically my real life manager.
Maybe you are giving her money weekly and don't even know.
Oh, I'm definitely giving her money.
Yeah, 20 for me. There, let me count it. 20 for me. Going through the drawer, and it's like, this looks a little light, honey. No, I don't think so, Joey. I don't think so.
Yeah, it might be. I don't count it, so it could be very well the case. You can rob me, and I wouldn't even fucking know. I'd just be like, wow, I made this much? I thought I made more, but whatever.
It's a peaceful existence. You're very zen.
Yeah. So if they sign her, my life will probably be ruined.
Okay. All right, well, then I hope that doesn't happen.
That's it.
I hope good things happen for her and good things happen for you, but not at the expense of each other.
Yeah, I'm probably jinxing it right now. She's probably getting a call right now.
Yeah, literally the 203 number's coming up on her phone, and you're here.
That's it.
Is that still, like, where are you at? Because I think the last time we talked, you pretty obviously, you grew up a wrestling fan, WWE fan, whatever. Like, that's the goal of, I think, and most, if not all, wrestlers, that's still the spot to be. Is that still something in your head you're like, that's where I want to end up? Or are you kind of looking at wrestling now and going, let me see what's happening here. I don't know where this business is going.
As of like 3 weeks ago, I probably would have said, 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said, oh, what's your goal right now? Mm-hmm. I would have said WWE, absolutely. And if they offered me a contract, I probably would have signed absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts, without a single thought of something else in my head. I would have signed on the dotted line with my blood.
They're like, all we can do is promise you that we'll put some money in the drawer. Yeah, fine, you got it.
That's
you got it. What's it? 50-year contract? No problem.
Yeah, I would have signed in my blood. They could have brought someone and poke my finger with a little needle, and I would have signed it. But this weekend definitely is, bringing up some other thoughts in my head. Mm-hmm. You can make money. We're in another golden era of professional wrestling.
You believe that now?
That's it.
Yeah.
We're in a golden era where, just like rap,
mm-hmm.
you don't have to be signed to a label anymore to make money.
Right.
Rappers, musicians, they just release this stuff. They release their own mixtapes, and they make money.
Right.
YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pitch a TV show to a network anymore to make money. You can just put it on YouTube and you make money from that.
If it's good, you can get an audience.
That's it. Now wrestling is finally catching up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make money as an independent contract. Well, no matter what, you're not a part of a union, or you're an independent contractor.
But as an independent wrestler.
As an independent wrestler, you can make money.
Mm-hmm.
If you work hard enough and build your brand.
Right.
On social media, selling T-shirts, or making my own videos with Giancarlo.
Right.
Kind of raised my stock through the roof.
Oh, it definitely did. I mean, it made everybody go like, okay, like the storytelling that you and Giancarlo did through those videos was like what hooked a lot of people in the beginning, I think.
Yeah, he raised my stock completely.
Yeah. I mean, there's nobody, it's helpful that there's literally nobody doing videos like he does anywhere on the independents.
That's why he's the only guy. I didn't even shout out my mom or any of my friends on All In during my entrance. I shouted out him.
Yeah.
I said, see you on the other side, Giancarlo. But it was just like, he was that detrimental to where I'm at right now, and you know, I don't have a deal with Hot Topic yet, or I don't have Pops, but all of that is possible,
right?
Without having someone backing me, a major corporation or major money, and I think the Bucks and Cody, those guys, you know, those guys changed the business, and you know, kudos to them.
Do you look around and go like, okay, you know, you've done 2 spring breaks and you did Lost in New York, right? You've done 3 shows that you've promoted as a Joey Janela show. Do you look at All In and be like, oh my God, this is what's possible? Because you do what, like 2,000? That's like the biggest show that you've done is like 2,000 people?
2,500 or
2,500 people?
Which is pretty big for an
Huge.
indie show. For an indie show, it's massive.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like my shows is also tangled in with the whole All In thing, saying these guys are also, we were all following each other on social media, like, wow, these Joey Janela shows are getting a lot of buzz.
Right.
We have this much buzz. Imagine what we can do.
But it's also great because, like, the way messages are getting across, like, being the elite is completely different from the videos that you and Giancarlo do, which are completely different from the videos that Lagana and Corgan do for the NWA. Like, they're all videos that people kind of jump on board with and watch and tell these stories, but the stories are told completely differently, and there's room for all of them.
Yeah. And now I'm kind of like making little appearances on Being the Elite. It's like it's like Scooby-Doo when they bring the fucking Harlem Globetrotters on. The worlds collide.
Yeah.
It's like 2 different camps. Like, I'm on this side of the spectrum and they're on this side of the spectrum, and now the worlds are meeting. It's like Jason versus Freddy or some shit.
Yeah.
But
do you like sit there after you've done this now and be like, okay, how do I get in front of that many people again?
yeah.
Or do you, yeah.
It was a rush. It was like now I know why these wrestlers, after their run is over, they're so fucked up.
You get it.
Yeah. Because they're doing this every week.
Right.
They're doing this 3 times a week. It was like, that was the, besides WrestleMania weekend was pretty crazy, like when fans are coming up to you, and I was at Newark Airport and fans were coming up to me and taking pictures of me, and father's like, can my son take a picture with you? Like in Newark Airport, they were going All In. And that was like, to me, that was like crazy.
Right.
It's like, this is how these guys, you know, live. And I can go to my town the next night and go to TGI Fridays by myself
and be that guy
eat a
all
cheeseburger,
alone.
and people are just looking at me like, who's this fucking bum with the fanny pack over his shoulder eating a cheeseburger with sauce on his face?
You wearing acid wash jeans?
Yeah. Who's this guy? This guy must be a dweeb. You know, I was wrestling 12,000 people 2 days earlier.
Yeah.
No one knows that.
Who's the nerd with mustard on his t-shirt?
Yeah. If I was me, and if I was eating at TGI Fridays in Chicago that weekend, I would have had the meal paid for, and people would have.
Of course, they would have been tipping you instead of the waitress.
That's it. They would have been tipping me, and so it was wild for sure. And I you know, there's only one place your career can go after is up. I'm never gonna be somebody that's like some of these guys. They just one chapter ends in their wrestling career and it's over.
Right.
You're just gonna keep on going, because once you reach a certain level, I feel like, and I'm not at that level yet, not at all. I feel like the only place you can go is up. You know, you're kind of set as long as you keep on working hard, and you never be lazy, or
you just keep building on what you've got. Just keep building on it and building on it and building on it.
Guys like John Morrison, Johnny Mundo.
Yeah.
That guy's had a career for what, 20 years now?
Yeah. With no end in sight.
That's it. He just goes to the next company, and now he works for like 3 companies.
Right. Because he just builds on it.
I'm sure that guy has a couple $1 million fucking by now.
Surely.
And I'm sure once everything's said and done, he's ready to go back to WWE. They'll surely take him back. He still looks like $1 million. Mm-hmm. And I feel like guys like guys should really just like, you know, watch a guy like he's had a career the whole time.
Yeah.
Hardy Boys, wherever they went, they had a career.
Right.
Van Damme, wherever he went, he had a career. You know, it's just, but I think John Morrison, John Heineken is really a real prime example, because, you know, guys like Carlito and that, you know, after WWE, what happened?
Yeah.
You'd see them pop up on big indie shows and whatnot, and do a tour, but go back to Puerto Rico or do a little tour of Japan. But they're not working every weekend and whatnot. It's just like, that guy's a prime example. Once you make it there, I feel like you can kind of play a game of chess, and as long as you never become lazy, you can always make money somehow in some way in the wrestling business.
Yeah, man. Well, I love watching the Joey Janela story unfold in front of us. I mean, you can catch Joey on the East Coast Indies when he's around, around the Jersey shows. Of course, PWG, you're becoming a regular, or have kind of become a pretty regular fixture at PWG. You got the Janela shows that pop up,
Game Changer Wrestling. They're really changing the game right now in New Jersey.
Yeah. And I mean, I heard, I wasn't able to go, but I heard such good things about the Lost in New York show.
It was wild.
Yeah.
It was certainly a wild show. And I think before All In, the numbers, they said the numbers were pretty great for Lost in New York. Mm-hmm. I'm not comparing them at all to All In, because those numbers are probably astronomically insane,
right,
when it comes to buy rate. But for an small independent company from New Jersey, we did pretty well with Lost in New York pay-per-view. But
well, let's figure out how to get some of the money from the pay-per-view so that it takes up more than a drawer.
That's it. GCW, pay me more money, motherfuckers.
That's right. It's happening. Joey, thanks for sharing all your experiences with us. Of course, your Twitter is Janela Baby, is that right?
Janela Baby. I kept it that way since the beginning.
Yeah.
We'll keep it there forever.
Janela Baby on Twitter. Keep up with Joey Janela if you can. And thanks, man.
You won't be able to. Because if you do, you'll probably have a seizure.
That's right. Thanks, man. SeatGeek, you know how much I love SeatGeek. They help you so much. It's SeatGeek. Yeah, SeatGeek, everybody. By now, they've helped out so many of you. They've certainly helped out me countless number of times. It's SeatGeek, one of my favorite companies that helps support Not Sam Wrestling, so you should help support them. Quite frankly, they're supporting you by offering you a service unlike anyone else. They're amazing. It's SeatGeek. Football's back. SeatGeek. Smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every game all season long. Whether you're looking for football tickets, whether you're looking for wrestling tickets, concert tickets, comedy tickets, Broadway tickets, it's SeatGeek. Nothing but SeatGeek. Doesn't end with sports. They got everything you need. Don't ever miss a live event. You don't have to miss All In. You don't have to miss Hell in a Cell. You don't have to miss Evolution. You don't have to miss any of these shows because you got SeatGeek. Here's what SeatGeek does. They give you the best deals anywhere. They get all the information from all the ticket sites you can think of. They bring them together and they find the best deals for you. You download the SeatGeek app on your phone. I have it on my phone. I've checked this out. That's how I know how it works. You get that SeatGeek app. You give it location services or whatever. It knows the events that are happening near you. Okay, so you can scroll through. Oh, I didn't know that was coming to town. I'd like to see. Let me see. Machine Gun Kelly's coming to town. Maybe he'll do the Eminem diss song. I want to see it live. Luckily, it's on SeatGeek. Everything's on SeatGeek. If you're looking for a show, you just type it in. You click the show. It's going to show you a seating chart. That seating chart is going to tell you exactly where the tickets that are available are. It's also going to color code the tickets so you know which tickets are best valued. Meaning, if you just want to get the best seat in the house, no matter what, SeatGeek has your back. If you want to get the best deal on a ticket, SeatGeek has your back. They're fully guaranteed. You're always going to get exactly what you're promised to get 100% of the time. Best of all, as if you needed more influence. Not only are you going to get the best deal, you're going to get the best deal minus $20. How's that, you ask? My listeners, the Not Sam Wrestling listeners, get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. That's right. All you need to do is download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code SAM today. That's S-A-M. Promo code SAM for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
Here is Sam Roberts.
How funny is Joey Janela? And it really is true. I'm not just saying it to blow smoke. If you are successful in what you do. If you go out to achieve a goal, and you achieve that goal successfully, and you're making money, and you're gaining a buzz, and you're gaining notoriety, then guess what? You can make living with your mom cool. You can make having a drawer full of cash instead of a bank account cool. And that's what Joey Janela is doing. Yeah, that's the bad boy lifestyle, is being 29 and living with your mom. It's not a problem anymore because Joey Janela is making it cool. Congratulations to any of you out there that might be living the same life. Really cool in this moment of his life to have Joey Janela back on the show. I really appreciate him making time for us. I know that if you're downloading this podcast on the day it comes out, Thursday, he's headed down to Orlando for the War Games event that MLW is doing. He's getting ready to do the Evolve show. He's going back for PWG. He's super, super busy, but on his day off, in between Chicago and Orlando, he made the trip to the Notsam Studio here in New York to be a part of this show. So definitely hit him up on Twitter and let him know how much you appreciate him being a part of Not Sam Wrestling. It really is cool. And of course, the video will be up at youtube.com/NotSam. If you're a Not Sam shill on Patreon, you can see the video right now because if you're on patreon.com/NotSam Wrestling, you get to watch the videos the same day the podcast gets dropped. A lot to talk about in the state of wrestling. It's really great what WWE is doing with Renee Young. And this isn't the state of wrestling. And the reason why I bring it up here is because it's not one of the top 5 news stories that Renee Young was on commentary for the second time this week. Back on commentary doing a full episode of Monday Night Raw, it was Renee, Corey Graves, and Michael Cole. And instead of putting out a press release, instead of making a big announcement, instead of saying, this is the second time a woman has done a full episode of Monday Night Raw, blah, 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 blah. They just simply said, the same way if Booker T were filling in, the same way if Sean Mooney were filling in. They said, Jonathan Coachman is not here this week, on assignment this week, instead Renee Young. And the idea being that it would appear that Renee Young may be the full-time fill-in for Jonathan Coachman. And that's not because the announcement, hey, she's a woman, and look, we have a woman on Raw. Now it's just, she's our third commentator, and she's the one that jumps in the booth when Jonathan Coachman isn't here. And I think that that's the best strategy you can possibly have. It's like WWE is not trying to get every single point that they can possibly get. Hey, look at what we're doing. No, it was Renee just made history, and then after that, Renee is just doing what Renee does best, and that's broadcasting. And so I was double happy. I was happy to see Renee Young in the booth, and I was happy to see Renee Young treated as an equal. I just thought it was a very, very strong move, and it was the right way to handle the fact that she was back on commentary. So very, very cool, and congratulations to Renee Young. It was also cool to see the Bella Twins back on Raw, both of them, although I don't know why Brie was on Raw. Brie was on Raw and SmackDown. Brie is wrestling at Hell in a Cell in a mixed tag with her husband. Do the Bella Twins have the same deal as John Cena where they're free agents? Are they allowed to go brand to brand? Are they just coming back for Evolution, so they're only going to be here a month, so it doesn't make sense to make them brand specific? I don't know, but I would love some clarification, because to me, if you've got 2 brands, split them up and stick with it. So, I would associate Brie with the SmackDown brand, and I haven't seen Nikki on SmackDown, so I would associate her with the Raw brand. Cool to see them tag up, confusing to know what brand they're on. Also, Brie, great with the knees, great with the kicks, no more dives, and I think we'll be good. But great to have him back. It was cool to see the Bellas once again on Raw. And again, I think they should be a part of this conversation. I think that, first of all, I think that the Bellas should absolutely, no other wrestler, no other superstar has been able to transition from the Divas era into the Evolution era the way that Nikki and Brie Bella have. Nikki Bella specifically because she was wrestling when Brie wasn't, but both of them. I think it's really impressive the way the Bella Twins are able to go from being the queens of that era of divas and move into this new women's evolution era to the point where, like, you're interested, right? The match was announced. It's the Bella Twins and Ronda Rousey taking on the Riot Squad at the Super Showdown in Australia. Huge match, mega match. And the fact that the Bellas and Ronda Rousey are teaming together, mega event. I thought it was really, I'm predicting a Bella's heel turn. It felt like that's where it was going with the promo on Raw, and I really enjoyed that. I like the subtleties of it. If you need any help with anything, if you need any help with running a business, it was like Nikki was patting herself on the back a little too much to not have a couple tricks up her sleeve. And I really enjoyed that. I'm intrigued by what the Bellas are doing. Personally, I think that the Bellas should embrace divas. I think that if we're going to turn the Bellas heel, let's do it. And let's have the Bellas and Maria Kanellis, and who knows, maybe Mickie James, some of the old guard, Maurice, that would sit there and say, like, how, there was a lot of great stuff going on in the Divas era, and we're going to show you that maybe you shouldn't have evolved, maybe whatever language you want to use. I like the idea of the Divas coming back as heels, right? The Total Divas. The show is still called Total Divas. I think it's a fun idea. Personally, I think it's a fun idea. All right, fun ideas aside, it's time to move in to the fun top 5 stories of the week. Here they are. It's this week's State of Wrestling.
It's now time for this week's State of Wrestling.
Yes, it is State of Wrestling time, and of course you can watch along. The video is posted exclusively for the Not Sam Shills at patreon.com/NotSamWrestling. If this face is one that you want to see, that is the place where you're going to want to go see it. It is time for the State of Wrestling, the top 5 stories in wrestling, according to yours truly, the last professional broadcaster, Sam Roberts. Now, this week, I'm very confident in my 5 stories. I think these are the 5 stories to cover. Story number 5 is All In. Now, we're not going to completely dissect the pay-per-view because we did that already. Yours truly and Pat Buck, we went on Patreon right after the show and did a bonus show. It's an hour and change. You can listen or watch the All In reaction show at patreon.com/NotSamWrestling. The bonus show is posted there. However, I thought about it a lot this weekend, this week, the whole time. And story number 5 is the questions that we're left asking coming out of All In. Specifically, the questions that I am left asking coming out of All In. Number 1 is what's next? There's no doubt in my mind, as successful as this show was, like, let's be honest, even removed from the show, it was, I think, even more successful than I thought it would be. The show itself was this great, compelling show. And I've seen on Twitter, I don't exactly know what the argument is, but there are some people that think that the wrestling media was co-opted and that, it wasn't because, I guess the wrestling media didn't get a fair shake at getting interviews because most of the interviews went to the people that were at Starcast or something like that. I don't know. But regardless of what was happening with the wrestling media, the show was a great show. I don't think there's any denying that. There were a couple hiccups here and there, little details that could have been hammered out a little better. The timing of the show was fine, except that they ran out of time in the main event. The show felt great until 5 minutes before the show ended. You could hear somebody on the outside of the ring yelling, "We got to go home. We got to go home." And the show literally ended just as they were going off the air. Like, there were a couple little things that you could change. But beyond that, it was a hugely successful show. I think I gave it like a 95.5 positive to negative ratio. And based on how well the All In boys were able to do pay-per-view for the very first time, there's no doubt that there will be more. The question is where? Where would you do another All In show? For me, I've heard things like Greensboro, North Carolina, which you could do, kind of do it around Christmas time for Starcade, something like that. I think it's got to be after Christmas because it's already September. That's only 3 months away. I think the next star. When do you do the next All In? You know, because December is probably too soon. Maybe February? Because you can't do it in April. You can't compete with WrestleMania and Ring of Honor. The Ring of Honor New Japan show probably could have been All In 2. But instead it's a Ring of Honor New Japan show. So All In 2 can't happen in April. I would say February is the earliest it could happen. It can't happen at Madison Square Garden because Ring of Honor and New Japan have already claimed Madison Square Garden for the next show. And to do it there either before or after would lose a certain je ne sais quoi. So where do you do it? I have two thoughts. February, I would say either Atlanta or Los Angeles, California. And I think Los Angeles, California might be a good bet, and here's why. The next All-In show needs to not only capture the wrestling fan, right? Because the first All-In show did this great job of getting the wrestling community talking. The second All-In show needs to go beyond the wrestling fan and start to get the attention of mainstream. If you were a wrestling fan, you couldn't go anywhere without talking about seeing, the conversation about All In followed you everywhere. But if you're not a wrestling fan, you could easily avoid it. I think the second All In needs to be something that goes beyond wrestling fandom and something that hits mainstream. I think both Atlanta and Los Angeles are places where that could happen. I think Los Angeles is the place where it could happen even easier. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said, what do you suppose this means for WWE? I don't think this means anything for WWE. I think this means that there is more wrestling out there. I wouldn't even necessarily call it an alternative to WWE. There is additional wrestling out there. There's different wrestling out there. But, I don't buy that I don't think you're going to watch All In and be like, okay, well, now I got my wrestling fill. There's no wrestling fill. Wrestling fans just want to watch wrestling. If the All In boys put together a television show every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., then that is walking on WWE's territory. If they were running pay-per-views the same night, if they were running towns that were nearby, then there would be competition. But nobody's watching All In instead of Hell in a Cell. Nobody's watching All In instead of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. They're watching it in addition to, which I think is important to note, that if anything, All In has the potential to get people who weren't necessarily interested in wrestling back interested in wrestling because it's so unique and fun. And if that happens, people are not going to be satisfied with just one show. They're going to want to go beyond that. And when they want to go beyond that, where are they going to go? To WWE. I think that there is a version of this where if the All-In model continues and those guys keep doing shows, it actually shows a net positive for WWE. So I don't think WWE is in trouble. The question is, if Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks realize that they do not need an organization to promote the shows that they're on, if Marty Scurll and Adam Page say, okay, all of us together, the elite, we can just run shows as the elite. We can have guys that work for us that run these shows, but what if we could do shows that were based on the talent that was at the shows instead of the organization where the talent works? We had Joey Janela on the show this week. What if, he promotes his own shows. They're in conjunction with GCW, but Joey Janela's Spring Break. You go to Joey Janela's Spring Break because you're a Joey Janela fan and you trust the product that he's going to put out there based on his matches. You now trust Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Marty Scurll and Adam Page. You trust the elite. You trust Kenny Omega. You know what I mean? When you put these guys on a show, you don't necessarily need an organization, which leads me to say that ultimately, All In could be more trouble for Ring of Honor than it is for WWE. And here's why. Ring of Honor, in the last year or so, has made it clear that they are the American territory where you can find the elite. They are the American territory where you can find the Bullet Club. Their partnership with New Japan has done big things for Ring of Honor. But that is the basket they've put their eggs in. They've got a handful of guys. Dalton Castle is injured. They've got Punishment Martinez. They've got Jay Lethal, of course. The Briscoe brothers are still doing their thing. But in reality, in terms of building the biggest stars in Ring of Honor, nobody is coming close to Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, to Marty Scurll, even to Adam Page, due to his association with the Elite. If Ring of Honor were to lose the Elite and the Bullet Club, what does Ring of Honor have left? Does Ring of Honor have enough left after the Elite is gone to put on content that is as compelling? I would say no. I would say that because Ring of Honor has concentrated their shows around main events like Cody Rhodes versus Kenny Omega, around the Young Bucks being there, around all of this stuff, that if the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and Marty Scurll and the Elite, if they stop doing Ring of Honor shows because they just want to do their own shows, well, I think their own shows are going to outdraw Ring of Honor. As a matter of fact, I don't know if Ring of Honor is going to be able to stay in business without these guys, because these guys are the guys that they've put 100% of their stock into. So I think that Ring of Honor needs to be very, very careful, because Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, the Elite are setting themselves up in a position where they're the ones with all the chips. What's that? They have all the power, right? Because they don't need an organization. But the organization needs them, and that's going to leave the organization in trouble. So that was my thought, that if any, and maybe it'll be a net positive for everybody involved. I'm not trying to be negative, but if any organization is in trouble due to All In, especially long-term, I think it's not WWE, and if it's anyone, I think it could be Ring of Honor. Time will tell. We will see. But that's what left me thinking. As I said, you can listen to the All-In wrap-up show over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/NotSamWrestling. Story number 4 is tag teams on Raw. Raw seems to have completely restructured their tag team division. On Raw this week, we saw Bobby Roode and Chad Gable as a team together for the first time. We saw a new tag team champion, which is the team. By the way, I always say tag team champion. I think it's odd when people say the tag team championships are on the line. It's one championship represented by 2 belts. In my head, Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler have the tag team championship, not tag team championships. It's the championship, and it's represented by those 2 title belts, right? That's the way I see it. So Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, high profile, by the way, tag team champions, but they're both champions. That's why you would say champions, if that makes, I think. I'm working on my championship grammar. Now, I think that the reason that Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre are the champions is because they want to make the Shield versus Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre into an even bigger deal. I mean, think about it. All the titles on Raw now, all the men's titles anyway, are associated with that show, that program. Seth is the Intercontinental Champion. Roman, the Universal Champion. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, tag team champions. That's the biggest storyline on Raw now based on titles. But still, new tag team champions, new tag team, Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, and a fresh start for the Authors of Pain with, I keep wanting to say Rockstar Spud as their manager. Maverick, whatever his name is. Rockstar Spud as their manager. So, Drake as their manager. So, I guess we'll start with the tag team champions, as I said. I mean, I don't know what's more to say about that. I think that it is a good choice. The B team is super fun. but I get why they're doing what they're doing. I think this move makes Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre into an even bigger team, and it makes the tag team championship more important because now it's being placed on men that are involved in the main event of the story. So I think everybody is heightened and everything is heightened because of that move. So I think that that's the right move. Now, the Authors of Pain, I'm confused as to why Drake is wearing the Authors of Pain gear. I think it's a funny visual for sure. I hope that they expand that role. I think we were left with more questions than answers after we saw that union formed on Monday Night Raw this week, but that might have been by design. Hopefully over the weeks we will get our questions answered, but anything that is going to make the Authors of Pain into a dominant team, I am for. I think that maybe the reason why they haven't done as well as one would have hoped since they got to the main roster, maybe it's because they didn't have Paul Ellering anymore for whatever reason, and their mic skills were not great. Something happened with the Authors of Pain where they lost the trust of the people who are decision makers. That's very, very clear if you watch the show, but it would appear, based on their dominant performance, that there is a trust in the Authors of Pain when they have a proper manager with them. And I think that Spud is a great, great manager. So I like the pairing. I'm not sure about the gear yet. I will let you know next week what I think about the gear. The last shakeup in the teams was Chad Gable and Bobby Roode as a tag team. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I thought they were fun together. I liked them doing the Glorious thing. The entrance was good. I think it's good news for Chad Gable in the sense that he's getting some spotlight on him. I believe I've read on the internet that Jason Jordan is either ready or close to ready to coming back to Raw. Now, the question is, what is he going to do? Of course, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan have a history together. I think we should have Jason Jordan come back and just come out one night and interfere in a match featuring Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, leading people to believe that he's going to join them. But then Jason Jordan and Bobby Roode turn on Chad Gable. That's what I would do. I think desperately Bobby Roode needs to be a heel. I think he could be a great heel. I think he could be a top heel. And I think that this is a good way to get him there. I think that Chad Gable, there's a lot of love for him. Same way, with Becky Lynch, obviously. I think if you turn Chad Gable heel, you would risk people cheering for him. Because I think on some level, people believe that Chad Gable has all this potential that has not even come close to being realized. I'm not sure why the American Alpha were never really utilized as a proper tag team on SmackDown. But I do think that we should be given a few weeks to really get to love Bobby Roode and Chad Gable before Bobby Roode turns on him, and heel Bobby Roode alongside bad guy Jason Jordan becomes a tag team of their own. Eventually, Kurt Angle can return. What are you doing, son? They lay out Kurt Angle. We end up with Chad Gable and Kurt Angle versus Jason Jordan and Bobby Roode. That's where I would go with this thing. I saw it as full of potential. Some people might have seen it and said, oh, that's just a throwaway thing. That's something they're trying. No. We look at everything for the potential that it has, okay? Jason Jordan comes back. Chad Gable thinks that they're friends. Beats up Chad Gable. Bobby Roode beats up Chad Gable as well. Jason Jordan and Bobby Roode are a bad guy tag team. Kurt Angle says, what are you doing? Jason Jordan beats up his dad. Bobby Roode helps him. They do some kind of dual finisher to him. Before they can pull off the dual finisher, here comes Chad Gable to help Kurt Angle. Who doesn't want to see a Kurt Angle? If Kurt Angle's going to return for another match, who doesn't want to see a Chad Gable, Kurt Angle team? Now, I think there is a version of this that you can stretch this out until WrestleMania, maybe. But realistically, I think this is probably a Survivor Series match. I think that this is a match for Survivor Series. And then maybe if Kurt Angle's going to have another WrestleMania match, you give him Jason Jordan singles. Father versus son. But do the tag match at Survivor Series. Money to me, I think it's a good idea. Number 3, speaking of tag team matches, mixed match tag coming back for a season 2. I think this is good news. I don't know if you guys watched Mixed Match Tag, but I thought it was a good show. And the reason why I thought it was a good show is because it didn't rely heavily on storyline. It almost existed into a universe on its own. Mixed Match Tag was about as close as you'll get to seeing people behave kind of like they do at live events. You know, on Mixed Match Tag, it really felt like the superstars were having fun. It was just about the match and having fun. The little storylines that were happening throughout were really just kind of a goof and kind of having fun with the way the fans reacted to things. Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss ended up stealing the show. Miz and Asuka is just a great team. I hope they win again, although Asuka is no longer undefeated, so that's certainly not a given. You know, we saw Carmella and R-Truth on SmackDown. So that right there is a commercial for how good Mixed Match can be. And by the way, leave it to R-Truth. Now, people were saying like R-Truth is the greatest because he got himself on SmackDown in the main event. You know, after all these years, R-Truth is still performing at this level. Not only is he performing at this level, not only was he in the main event of SmackDown, but R-Truth turned Carmella babyface without you even realizing it. Carmella's a good guy now. Carmella has embraced teaming with R-Truth. Everybody loves R-Truth. Carmella hates what Maurice said about her. Maurice is a bad guy. Everybody hates her. R-Truth just turned Carmella babyface right under our noses. And we're accepting it, which is tough because Carmella was really established as a bad guy. So the idea that she could now turn around and be a good guy, that's a difficult thing to pull off. Who can pull that off? R-Truth. I'm excited about Mixed Match. I think that you should go out of your way. If you haven't seen it yet, go on the WWE Network and check out the last season. I think this is going to be a fun season, fun thing to watch on Facebook. See the performers just going out there and having a good time, wrestling good matches, and these tandems that normally wouldn't happen. You know, as I said, Braun and Alexa, as you know, husband and wives teaming up all over the place. I think it's good. I think it's going to be good. We'll see what Bobby Lashley and Sasha Banks do together. Hopefully dominate. You know, maybe we'll see another side of Lashley. Lashley's been doing some weird stuff. Lashley being ready to sing with Elias, and it cost him. Being ready to perform yoga with Jinder, and it cost him. So, you know, I hopefully he'll stop letting bad guys convince him to do things, because every time he does, he ends up getting jumped. But clearly there's a side of Bobby Lashley that likes to entertain people, and that's the side that I'd like to see at Mixed Match Challenge. We move on to story number 2, and that is a checkup on Braun Strowman's heel turn. Now, it's official. I'll tell you, I do like that they're not playing the in-between game. You know, I do like, and I saw in the Discord room, somebody said something about maybe this is shades of gray, Braun just doing what needs to be done. No, Braun Strowman is going on a full personality change. I don't like how completely different it is. I don't like that 3 weeks ago, he said, I'm a stand-up guy and blah, 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 blah. And 2 weeks later, he's doing a promo in front of an audience that says he doesn't care, he doesn't give a damn about any of them. Like, he went from stereotypical good guy to stereotypical bad guy over the course of 3 weeks without having a real reason. Like, Roman Reigns spent months complaining that he was getting screwed out of title matches, and he never turned heel. Braun Strowman is complaining about getting screwed out of title matches and getting jumped, which is happening. And now all of a sudden he's a full heel. You know, I'm not. The road to get here is flawed. But I respect that Braun Strowman is going full heel. Now, clearly, they're really trying to establish this. I thought that the beginning of Raw probably should have looked a little more like the end of Raw. You know, I don't understand why Finn Balor, for instance, would be coming out trying to separate the Shield and Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre. And you might say, well, that's because, you know, he was instructed to by the acting Raw general manager. And I'd respond to you and say, you mean his arch rival, Baron Corbin? So he just listens to him for the first segment and then challenges him to a match in the second segment? I didn't know why the good guys were out there trying to separate this fight, except maybe to just make it seem like it wasn't a biased thing. But I liked the end of Raw. I thought it was a fun end to Raw where you had all the bad guys out there. It reminded me of Royal Rumble 94 when every bad guy is piling up on top of the casket that The Undertaker has been thrown into by Yokozuna. And it just is like, yeah, these are all the bad guys. And of course the bad guys get along because they break the rules. They understand each other. They all want to stop the good guys. That doesn't bother me. It certainly makes the Shield look like good guys. But here's what I want to happen. Next week on Raw, I want the Shield to just start kind of invisibly tearing through the locker room. I want, like, opening segment, somebody's supposed to come out. He's getting called out by Baron Corbin or whoever. And he can't make it out, and then we see him laid out backstage. And throughout the show, the heels are just getting laid out and are not responding to what they're supposed to be responding to, only to find out that it is in actuality the Shield getting their revenge against everybody who came out and attacked him. And that means attacking Kevin Owens, and that means attacking... Who knew how evil Drew Gulak was? That's how I knew that the Shield were supreme good guys. Because supreme bad guy Drew Gulak was getting in Roman Reigns' face. I tell you, right under our noses, very low key, Drew Gulak is becoming one of the top heels in WWE. Without telling a soul about it. Why was he at Raw? 205 Live is taped on Tuesdays. Why was he at Raw? Because he's a bad guy. Because he's a bad guy. And when you need a bad guy to come out and stop a good guy, he's the one who's going to do it. Good for Drew Gulak. I like that anybody who's on 205 Live is that established in their character. He is a heel. He is a bad guy. He wants to win the Cruiserweight title. He wants to stop the Shield because he's evil. Bad guy. Bad dude. So yeah, that's what I thought, you know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. You know, they did do what I hoped that they would do and presented the Shield this week like a unified front. I think that that's going to help people cheer for the Shield and completely established. 2 weeks ago, we were sitting here wondering if the Shield were good guys or bad guys based on what they did to Braun Strowman. We know exactly the role that everybody is in coming off of Monday Night Raw. And speaking of Monday Night Raw, we go to our number one story. What was the subtext of that Shawn Michaels and Undertaker segment on Monday Night Raw? Now, first of all, I thought it was a great segment. I wasn't entirely sure of it. Shawn Michaels was out there, and he was okay when Shawn was by himself. But once the Undertaker came out there, first of all, that Undertaker entrance, and I tweeted about it, will do it to me every single time. There may be nothing better in wrestling, no singular entity better than the entrance of The Undertaker. The glass shattering for Stone Cold is amazing. The bam, 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 for Hogan, awesome. Lots of great stuff. I think that The Undertaker's entrance would just never be beaten in terms of attractions to go to a wrestling show. You know, there's just nothing like The Undertaker's entrance. I was trying to go it's The Undertaker, let me roll my eyes. Couldn't do it. Goosebumps riding up and down my arms when The Undertaker came out, and I didn't expect it, and they gave it to me anyway. I thought The Undertaker's promo was super strong. I thought Shawn Michaels turned into a much better performer when The Undertaker was out there. And maybe that's because that's when he was performing, right? And I think that Shawn Michaels, before The Undertaker came out, was just kind of shooting the breeze a little bit. Once The Undertaker came out, that's when things got serious. And that's when you realize, oh, Shawn knows what he's doing. Shawn Michaels can come out and shoot the breeze. But when it's time to get serious, Shawn gets serious. Now, the question is, were they hinting at a Shawn Michaels-Undertaker match? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it was intentional that would be in people's heads. Because if it was intentional, it wouldn't be very effective at what they were going for. I think they were trying to take a moment to remind everybody of how badass The Undertaker is. They were trying to take a moment to remind everybody that The Undertaker is an unbeatable force, and he's the one that destroyed Shawn Michaels' career. But if that segment were about planting the seeds for a Shawn Michaels-Undertaker match, I think that if that was the intention, then the intention ran the risk of distracting from the real purpose of the segment, and that was to promote the Triple H Undertaker match at Super Showdown. At the end of the day, that's what that was about. And quite frankly, as much as I would like to see a Shawn Michaels Undertaker match again, I would far prefer, if Shawn was going to come back once, I would far prefer to see Shawn Michaels versus Tommaso Ciampa at NXT TakeOver than I would Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, although you wouldn't catch me complaining about Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. I just don't think it's going to happen, and I personally don't think that that was the purpose of that segment. I don't think that the purpose of that segment was to... Now, intention versus result are two different things. I think people left that segment wanting a Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. And I don't think that that was intentional, because it doesn't make any sense for it to be intentional, because that's not what is being offered. What is being offered is a Triple H Undertaker match. I'm anxious to see what Triple H does on Monday Night Raw next week. It's really fun, the way they've been building up this match and watching them simultaneously promote Super Showdown and Hell in a Cell and Evolution. Now, I think right now, the way I would rank them in terms of promotion is Super Showdown, then Evolution, then Hell in a Cell. Problem is, Hell in a Cell is coming before either of those two shows. So, I don't know if that is going to be a fault, if it's going to make it so that people are less interested than in Hell in a Cell. I think on Raw, Hell in a Cell is being treated like a third show. And on SmackDown, Hell in a Cell is being treated like a main show. SmackDown, they're concentrating on the mixed tag with Miz and Maurice and Bryan and Brie. They're talking about Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. They've got all this stuff. Whereas on Raw, I'm pretty sure the only match that we have is the Hell in a Cell Universal Championship match, which I'm sure that we will start hyping up more next week when the Shield is standing on their 2 feet again. But in the meantime, watching Raw, I'm far more excited about and knowledgeable of Super Showdown and Evolution. But, we still got some time, folks. We still got some time. That's going to do it for this week's Not Sam Wrestling. I appreciate you all being here. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/NotSamWrestling and see if you want to become a Not Sam shill. I hope that you do. Either way, we will see you next week right here on Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast, a.k.a. Not Sam Wrestling. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Follow at Not Sam on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Rate, review, and subscribe. This has been Not Sam Wrestling. Not Sam Wrestling.